This is where the fun begins.
At last.
Do you want to dominate as a chosen one in Star Wars Battlefront 2? Good. And this video is for you. Let's get right into it. Hey guys, I'm the Great Jedi and welcome back to the channel. Now today, I'm continuing my How to Not Suck and Become Unstoppable in-depth hero guide series, and in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Battlefront 2. But I'm not just going to show you how to play him. I'm going to show you the whole shebang like I do in this series, including striking, ability combos, use of stamina, star cards, and a bunch of other tips and tricks. And I do have quite a bit of tips to show you, so be sure to stay to the very end because the tips at the end are just as important as the ones in the beginning. Also, if you want to know how to lightsaber duel in general, or how to use blaster heroes against saber heroes, or even how to hook swing, as well as just how to use other heroes, then be sure to check out those guides on the channel once you're done with this video. All those links will be in the description, including the entire how-to playlist. Now that we've got that out of the way, if you like these types of videos or like this series, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell down below so you never miss a video. It's free and helps me out. Now, let's start off with some basic things about Anakin Skywalker. Anakin has 800 health and a 250 base health regen, which is about average for a standard lightsaber wielder. And for those that don't know what a health regen pull is, it is basically when you take a ton of damage, you can heal back up 250 HP, meaning you don't get all of your health back. Although, there is still a way of getting all of your health back if you end up taking more damage than what you initially thought, and that would be through your passive ability, which actually all the heroes have, with the exception of Bosk, and that is health on elimination. And basically what a passive ability means is that you have it no matter what. You don't need any star cards to have it, you automatically have it even at level 1. And that passive ability makes it where Anakin can regain health for each defeated enemy. You get 20 health back for each trooper or reinforcement you kill, and 100 health back for an enemy hero. Now, regarding Anakin's stamina pull, it's actually slightly above average, and I know what you're thinking, wait, there's no way Anakin's stamina pull is slightly above average, and I know some of you are already typing up in the comments to tell me how wrong I am, but let me explain with statistics. Anakin can actually swing a total of 12 times or block 10 swings before running out of stamina. And to give you a comparison of how good that is, Luke can only swing a total of 10 times or block 10 times. Then you got Rey, who can also only swing 10 times, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, who can only swing 10 times. I just really want to show you guys this because I don't know how many times I got told that Anakin has the worst stamina in the game and that he just sucks. People always tell me that and that he should have never gotten nerfed 6 times. Well, those people that are saying that his stamina completely sucks and is the worst in the game are completely wrong, as you can see by the stats. Although, I think those people say that about Anakin is because they're trying to compare him to where he was at launch. And if you guys don't know how he was at launch, how do I even put this? He was just absolutely insane, okay? He's just way overpowered. I don't care how you put it. He was literally like almost at Kenobi's defensive stamina level, which is pretty ridiculous. I'm guessing it's just that, or they are just comparing his stats with Kenobi or something. But even then, Kenobi can only swing 10 times, while Anakin can swing 12. Although, those people could also be talking about the defensive stamina. Like Kenobi can block over 20 swings. Yeah, you're right, Anakin can't do that, but neither can anyone else. So you can't just hold Anakin to that level. He's not as defensive as Kenobi, but whether you like it or not, he does have average stamina. And if what I'm saying just still doesn't make sense to you, or just don't believe me because you have different experiences, let me see if I can get to the bottom of this. It may be because you're using some stamina cards with certain heroes, or using certain abilities while Anakin doesn't have that much of an advantage compared to other characters. So you may be using something that isn't related to their base stamina, and then comparing that to Anakin's base stats. For example, Rey and Vader's middle ability both give them 50% more stamina, meaning it gives them twice as much. Plus, Rey, Vader, Luke, and even Kenobi have great stamina cards that can make them seem like they have way more stamina, because they do, just with those star cards. Compared to Anakin, who only has one stamina card, and it's just not as good as theirs, at least in my opinion. So hopefully that clears some things up for those that don't think Anakin's stamina is average. So basically the bottom line of, me going this in depth about it is because I'm going to give you guys some tips regarding stamina later on in the video, and I don't want to hear any more about how bad Anakin's stamina is, okay? And how he should have stayed in his launch state. No more of that. But anyways, guys, if you don't know where to see his stamina bar, it's right above his health bar at the bottom of the screen. It's a bluish white color until you get low, which in that case, it will just turn red and it depletes when you swing or block. Now, I did also want to mention that it will take less stamina for you to block than to swing, so be sure to use that to your advantage in whatever situation you may be in. Anakin also has a base of 2 normal dodges, which can be very effective when timing them right, because they can get you out of a lightsaber combo and also give you the ability to dodge incoming attacks, whether it's the opponent's basic attack or their abilities. And what I mean by that is that Anakin has 2 dodges which will continually recharge, and if you time them correctly, you can avoid an attack. For example, let's say Vader is about to choke you with his ability. You can dodge, and if you are in the middle of your dodge animation, then you won't be affected at all by it, and that goes for all dodges. Just notice I did say dodges and not dashes because they are different, and I mean different in the aspect of abilities because some heroes have actual dash abilities which are different from dodges. I know when you dodge as a saber hero, it looks like a dash, but I have a different vocabulary for those 2 movements when it comes to video tutorials. That way it doesn't confuse people with what I'm talking about. Now, about his base lightsaber damage, you can do about 130 damage from the front and about 170 damage from behind, which is pretty dang good. That's totally above average. And to give you some perspective, Dooku the Super Killer, he does only 130 damage in the front, which is the same as Anakin, but only 160 damage from the back, meaning Anakin actually does more damage than Dooku with the base stats, which means you can one-shot any of the infantry classes with the exception of the heavy class. Also, keep in mind that Anakin has a faster swing speed compared to a lot of other heroes, so just use that to your advantage in your movement and when you punish your opponents, because more often than not, you can get a second hit in when you normally can't. And speaking of fast movement, Anakin is pretty dang fast, and in fact, I believe he is the fastest light side hero in terms of running and movement in the game. So I highly recommend to rely on his movement and speed because that is one of his greatest strengths. Now, some of you may ask, should I play Anakin offensive or defensive? Well, I'd say both. He can be just as defensive as offensive, but if I had to pick which side was stronger, I would say his offense may be stronger, just depending on how you look at it, but honestly, it just comes down to your playstyle, because once you know how to play him, he's one of the easiest characters to use because he fits most playstyles. Now, I'm not saying you can't play Anakin purely defensively or offensively, because you definitely can. There are cases for that. I'm just saying that you'll find it much easier to get the hang of him and do so much better if you play him with his strengths rather than his weaknesses. But let me be real here. Compared to a lot of other heroes, he has pretty well-rounded stats and he has a lot more strengths than weaknesses, which results in him being easier to use. For example, if you're at full health and you're just trying to get a quick kill and then get out of the area because there's a lot of enemies around, I would say it's definitely worth it unless you are in a completely open area where you'll get shot in the back just trying to get out of that area for a while. But if you have some cover not too far away, then I'd say yeah, well, with his fast running movement and fast swing speed, you should have no problem getting a quick kill on your way out and then recover that health back with your health regen. And even if you are in one of those situations where you're taking more damage than you thought before getting the cover, activate your heroic might ability to get everyone off of you, and then you'll get some health back for the kills you just got for that ability, and then you can just continue to get to cover for your health regen. Although, if you go into this situation when you already have low health, I'd pass on a better situation until you have some health back. Just overall, be aware, put yourself in smart positions, and use his fast movement, swing speed, and damage output to your advantage. And what I mean by putting yourself in smart positions is, like, if you don't have your abilities, it's not a great idea to stay and get several kills when there's a lot of people around, because there's a high chance that you may die trying to get the kill with the bad hit detection. So you just have a better shot just trying to get out of there, regain what health you can, and then go back and kick some butt with your abilities. Now, before I talk about his abilities, let's go over all of his strikes. Now remember, he has some decent damaging strikes and a fast swing speed, so be sure to combo some of these moves together, and you'll see that you'll be able to take out your opponent very, very quickly. So first off, you have his basic attack, then his right dash attack, then his left dash attack, then his back dash attack, then his front dash attack, then his lunge attack, then his small jump attack, and then he even has his normal jump attack. Now, what's great about knowing all these different attacks is that you can combo many of them, and this is especially useful if you find yourself in a 2v1 situation, especially in Hero Showdown. You can do a front dash attack and then a back dash attack, or you can just do a right dash attack to a left dash attack, or you can even hook swing or even jump hook swing, as well as other attacks. They all have their different uses. Now, let's continue to talk about not his 3 abilities, but 4. That's right, he's special, he's the chosen one.
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
His middle one is called Heroic Might, and that allows Anakin to take highly reduced damage, 90% damage reduction to be exact, while holding this ability, which just means that you will have to be hit 10 times to feel like you got hit once normally. When released, he pushes all enemies around him a full 360 degrees, with the range being increased by the amount of damage taken while the ability is being held. So basically what that means is if you hold the ability, you get damage reduction and the radius of Heroic Might gets bigger as you take more damage compared to just a quick release. Now, this ability does about 120 total damage per enemy trooper or reinforcement and 90 damage to heroes, which means that you can't instantly kill infantry with this ability, and it has an 18-second cooldown. Now, this ability is great because you can ragdoll your opponent, which then leads them into more combos where you can just do significant damage on them. Another cool thing about this ability is that the activation animation is pretty much instant, and you can just cancel the ability whenever you want. However, if you're up against another saber user and they block it while being close, they can actually punish you if they time it right, so just be careful. If you want it to be a quick attack, then you can just press the buttons, but if you just want it to last a while and just let the radius get bigger and bigger, then you can just hold down the buttons. Now, the main downside to this ability is that it bugs out quite often, and what I mean by bugs out, I mean it bugs out, and it can actually just sometimes be the death of you. And in Anakin's Heroic Might bug, I have just noticed it's super inconsistent a lot of the time because different things happen. Sometimes I won't get any damage reduction while in the ability, and other times I'll be knocked out of it by another ragdoll ability, which will result in the middle ability, the Heroic Might, continuing to go in the bottom right hand of your screen to show that it's still going, when in reality it's not, and you were just affected by the ragdoll effects. And then once you get up from those punch attacks after the ragdoll effects, you realize you literally can't do anything for like 3 seconds except walk, because everything is just locked up, and sometimes it can even happen longer where it's to the point where you need to respawn. I mean, you won't be able to run, use abilities, block, attack, or even jump. It's pretty broken. I mean, Heroic Might is supposed to be one of those top tier abilities in the aspect of taking priority, so when it bugs out and you get knocked out of it, it's really annoying. Not even one ability is supposed to knock him out of it, but then it still bugs out and does. I can't tell you how many times I've been thrust surged or force choked out of it just to die because Annie can't do anything except walk. And then sometimes you'll use the ability and it'll just straight up not work, or sometimes you'll even get hit markers and it won't ragdoll anyone. So my point is that this ability is buggy and it can make you take a lot of damage or just instant kill you. So I would recommend not using this ability when you're low on health unless you're in a situation where you really need it, because there's about a 40% chance this ability will bug out on you and take a ton of damage. At least in my experiences, it will bug out on me in one way, shape, or form about 3 or 4 times out of 10. So just keep all that in mind. It's a great ability, but it can bug out and really screw you over. Now, moving on to his left ability, which is called Pull Dominance. It is where Anakin pulls his enemies in front of him to a center point, leaving them open for attacks. And this ability does about 120 base damage to enemy infantry and reinforcements, while it does 80 damage to enemy heroes and has about a 14-second cooldown. Just keep in mind when using this ability, there is an activation animation which will leave you vulnerable, and you don't have any damage reduction while using this ability, so just be careful of those punish attacks. Another perk to this ability though is that it does ragdoll your opponents from a far distance and sets you up for some easy damage combos. It is a very, very good ability to start out any combo, honestly. Just be careful when doing this against a lot of the skilled players, because most Anakin players play the same and always start out with their pull, which is smart, but when you want to be unpredictable, I wouldn't recommend doing your pull right off the bat. Save it for when they're not expecting it. So overall, this ability is really good because it gives you that extra range and gives you an opportunity to really mess up their plan. Plus, once you get close enough, no Boba Fett player can stand a chance. Sorry Boba mains, only if he wasn't broken, we could only wish. Now, moving on to his right ability, he has Passionate Strike. And Passionate Strike allows Anakin to unleash a heavy strike, breaking through his opponent's guard, dealing high damage. So this ability can't be blocked, meaning they have to dodge it. So you can actually use that to your advantage, knowing your opponent's next movement. This ability can deal up to 250 damage, but not all at once. It actually hits twice if you're close enough. One is on its way up, and then the second time is on its way down. The main hit deals about 180 damage, but if you get the second hit in, it does an extra 70 damage, doing a total of 250 damage, meaning it can instant kill all infantry, and as for the heroes, it can deal up to 170 damage even if they're blocking. It will be 130 damage for the main hit, and if you get the second hit that's going up, then that's another 40 damage, dealing up to 170. So this ability is great for finishing off enemies or taking out their health regen when they think they're safe when blocking, and it only has about a 13-second cooldown. Just also be aware that they still can hit you when doing Passionate Strike because you're not blocking, so it may not be worth it if, like, let's say a character like Dooku is at full health and he's slicing you up while his duelist ability is active. Now, moving on to his fourth and final ability, Retribution. And Retribution allows Anakin's powers to intensify whenever he and any nearby allies are attacked, building towards the ultimate punishment of a swift and inescapable grip, seizing all enemies around him. So basically, it's like a 360-degree force choke push, and it gets charged as you and your allies take damage. Now, if you're wondering what the little numbers mean in the ability, that means how many people you will affect with that ability. Now, while in this ability, you do receive 90% damage reduction, just like Heroic Might, and there's two different parts of this ability. You get the full-on choke, and then you got the push. And in order for your opponent to avoid both, they have to block both because they are separate. And if you get them in the full ability, it will deal 296 damage against infantry and 222 damage against heroes. For infantry, it does about 53 damage at a time until the animation ends, and there's a bonus 137 damage for the push. So it does 3 sets of 53 damage and then finishes you off with a 137 damage, doing a total of 296 damage. So that is a lot when you're dealing with infantry and reinforcements. Then against heroes, it's 3 sets of 40 and then 102 damage for the push. Now, this ability has the same issues as Heroic Might though. It's bugged. It will completely glitch out and not work at all sometimes. So I would not rely on this ability. I would only use it if you're at full health and expect to take some damage if you're going to use it. Or, if you end up using it when you're low health, only do it because you absolutely need it. But even with the damage reduction, you gotta think about how many enemies are around you, because even if you take a lot of them out with Retribution, and even Heroic Might for this case, right, you'll be getting shot all over the place. The second the ability ends, you will take a lot of damage because that damage reduction is now gone. You can't block because of the ending animation of the ability. So be aware with that, with this ability and Heroic Might. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, it looks a lot like this. Realize that I'm not taking so much damage until after the ability ends, and then it goes straight down with just a little bit of enemies around. So be sure that you're being smart about your positioning when using Annie's abilities. Now, for this part of the video, I'm going to be going over my Hero Mode star cards, which includes Heroes vs. Villains and Hero Showdown, as well as giving you guys some tips for those modes, and my large scale mode star cards, which includes Galactic Assault and Supremacy, as well as giving you guys some more tips and tricks for those modes as well. So let's get started off with my Hero Mode star star cards. Now before I say them, I do want to say that all the star cards are pretty good, and it's really up to you and your playstyle, but after playing the game for a while and figuring out my playstyle, these are the star cards that work best for me. Now for the hero modes, I go with Tenacious, Raw Strength, and Attraction. I go with the Tenacious star card because that allows Anakin Skywalker to have increased maximum health by 100, which means he gets an extra 100 health, which honestly comes in handy, and I always believe health is important and is always a must-have. Then I chose the star card Raw Strength because that allows Anakin to deal 50 more base damage with his middle ability, Heroic Might, which may not seem like a lot, but trust me, this is probably my favorite card for Anakin no matter what the mode is, and is an absolute game changer because without this card, the ability only deals 90 damage, but with this card, it deals 140, which is a significant difference, and when you stack that up with your pull and even have massive strikes with it, oh baby, you can literally take a skilled Vader out instantly if you get one hook and the pull. Don't believe me? Check this out. Get a hook, pull him, Heroic Might, get those 2 punish attacks in, and even if he dashes away and blocks, all you gotta do is just Passionate Strike him and he's done. Now you can see why those 2 cards together do wonders. Then I chose my last main star card, Attraction, because it gives his pull dominance a greater range by 5, which is insane. The range on that pull, boy, it feels like I can pull someone from across the map, and it is absolutely great for catching players off guard when they don't think they're in range, especially those Boba players. Now, if you don't like my main 3 choices, there is a couple other star cards I would recommend in the place of Attraction, especially if you're in HvV, and that would be Massive Strikes or Pressure. I say Pressure instead of Attraction sometimes because Pressure gives you 25 extra damage when doing Passionate Strike, so if I'm up against a really defensive player or someone who doesn't know how to counter Passionate Strike, or if I just feel like using that ability, I'll put that card on. As for my other alternative card, I have Massive Strikes, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me here, but I use it for the hero mode sometimes because I like to deal that extra damage because I deal an extra 20 damage per swing, and it may not sound like a lot, but when you start comboing things, it really starts to add up. The only downside to this card is that you're sacrificing 1/4, which is 25% of your stamina. But in hero modes, I do pretty well with managing my stamina because if I run out, I have my abilities to rely on, and by that time, I use them, and then it's already stored up again. Plus, Anakin already has better than average stamina, so it's not the worst card in my opinion. But for those that are having trouble managing Anakin's stamina, I would actually suggest this card and practice with it, because if you learn how to manage his stamina when you're only using 3/4 of his potential, then when you unequip it, it will seem like you got a lot more and you'll be doing very well. And that's not even including his actual stamina card if you really want extra stamina with him. And now that you guys know why I chose those star cards for the hero modes, I can give you a quick few tips on how to take out those annoying enemy heroes. So, one skill you gotta learn is pairing. If you don't know how to do it, be sure to check the description for another video I've made because I go into depth on it. Now, besides pairing, comboing your abilities and using your speed while keeping your stamina in mind is a great way to use your hero effectively. For example, some easy combos that you can pull off is to activate your pull, then Heroic Might, and then you can follow up with 2 hits and then follow up with a Passionate Strike, which does a total damage of 600. This is one of the easier combos, and it does a ton of damage. This combo does about 600 damage, and that is only if you hit them in the front and not the back. If you actually hit them in the back, then you'll be doing 680 damage with no star cards. Put some star cards on, specifically Massive Strikes and Raw Strength, and you'll be doing 770 damage. And these combos are without Retribution. If you have Retribution, you can start out with that, then pull, then Heroic Might, then hit them 2 times to punish, and I believe everyone would be dead at that point, but if for some reason, if they're not, then you could just follow up with Passionate Strike, which goes through blocks, and then there's no way for them to defend it. Another strategy I like to use against other heroes that isn't as predictable is saving your abilities compared to starting out with the pull. Sometimes starting out with the pull is pretty predictable with more experienced players. I would wait until you're low on stamina or punish your opponent if they are using a punishable ability on you, and then just Heroic Might. For example, let's say I'm low on stamina and this Kylo player decides to use Frenzy. I'll activate Heroic Might, and as I'm doing Heroic Might, my stamina is getting replenished as well as me getting damage reduction. So I'm taking like no damage from Frenzy, and then while he's in the middle of that, I know he can't cancel that ability, so I can just release it and then he's mine. At that point, I can do many options. I can just pull him and then punish him with my normal attacks, and then I can just follow up with Passionate Strike. You see, it just comes down to practicing and knowing your opponents as well as different playstyles. Another quick tip to know when going against Saber users is that Anakin's swing speed is pretty fast, so you can typically get that extra punish attack in compared to someone like Yoda. And if you happen to be on any maps with ledges, be sure to use your pull and Heroic Might to your advantage to knock them off and get that super strategy cheap kill. Now, if none of those offensive combos are working for you, be sure to be more offensive with your attacks, especially your lunge attacks, because his is pretty good. He can lunge at a farther distance than a lot of other heroes, so you can always use that lunge attack, base attack, and then dash back. And if your opponent is playing defensive, then get close and then just Passionate Strike him and then just try and hook swing him. I mean, I can go on and on about different strategies you can use depending on the situation, but hopefully that gives you a decent direction. Now, if you're going against a blaster user, you need to close that distance, which honestly shouldn't be much of a problem because of the star card attraction, which increases the range on your pull. But if you don't want to do that, you're fast, so most people will miss you as long as you're just dodging side to side or being unpredictable, whether it's you jumping or whatever. But if you're up against a blaster hero that is so skilled like me, then just walk towards them with your block up to close that distance to the point where you're close enough to rely on your pull. At that point, once you pull them, you're close enough to just start wailing on them with your saber if they're not rolling, or you can just Heroic Might them. But anytime you close that distance and get to your opponent, just don't start swing spamming against a skilled player, because this really pulley over here is just here rolling around laughing as he's shooting you in your dumb little head. So just block while they roll, and then once they waste their roll, that's when you swing. And if they don't roll, then great, just hit the dummy for not countering your attacks. It's easy. Now, if you're up against a powerful blaster like Leia's E11 Rapid Fire or Han's DL44, and they're shooting at you as you're just, whacking at them, that's when you want to stop, and they're shooting at you in the head, right? Just don't swing spam. Just deflect your laser bolts right back at them, and once they start to realize that they're taking damage, they're going to stop, or not, then you could just keep on deflecting right at their face and then they'll die, or they'll roll, and then that's when you attack. You hit them right before or after the roll, and then if you need your stamina, remember you got your Heroic Might and even your Passionate Strike. If they're low and you're out of normal attacks, you can just finish them off with Passionate Strike. Now, for the larger scale game modes, I would go with the star cards Tenacious, Raw Strength, and Control the Force. Now, if you want some other great cards that I also use and switch out in these large scale game modes, I also go with Steamroll and all of them to take place of Control of the Force. But the first three I named are my main three that I use most of the time. I've already explained why I like to use Tenacious and Raw Strength, but I still want to explain why Raw Strength is even a must-have in the large-scale game modes, and that's because with the Raw Strength star card, you can instantly kill all the infantry except for the heavy class, so that way if you're low on health, you can just get a quick, easy couple of kills with Heroic Might to get some of your health back. Now, I know another popular star card with Anakin is All of Them, and it's definitely good, but I don't really use it all the time because I'm already pulling the enemy right in front of me. Then I could just follow up with the Heroic Might or just hit them with my saber. They are already defensive, so the extra 50 damage with the pull when getting more than 2 enemies just isn't worth the card slot for me. Now, for some tips in these larger scale game modes is to really use your camera movement, speed, and fast movement to get those better positions where you can maximize your damage while only taking a little bit in those intense situations. For example, your camera movement is very important. You can view around corners to see how many enemies there are before you actually just go out and look and then get melted. And you can do that by pressing the down arrow on the D-pad. Also, I would also work your way up to 100 sensitivity. If you're not quite there yet, that's okay. Just increase in small increments of 5 until you get there. And some of you may be wondering why you should just try to get to the 100 sensitivity, and that's because you'll be able to have much more control and actually be able to perform certain moves faster, like hook swings. Now, you also want to use your fast movement to your advantage because it's harder for enemies to hit you. You really want to just try and focus on not taking too much damage. So be hard to hit, jump around, dash, do your thing, you know? Plus, you want to get in there and get out as quickly as possible while taking out as many enemies as you can without taking too much damage, because you may take a little bit of damage trying to get out of a specific area when there's lots of enemies around. Now, I would suggest using your pull when there's a decent gap between you and your opponents, and then heroic might them, and then just get out of there. Those will be some easy kills, and if you want to kill some more that ended up not dying, you can always attack once or twice with your saber and then get out. And remember, you just don't want to take too much damage. That's the key, because you may lose more health than what you're expecting in the next encounter. So it's better to regain what health you have, let your abilities refresh, and then go back to kick some butt, because most likely you'll be taking quite a bit of damage just trying to get out of a crowded area after using a heroic might or even retribution. Now, regarding his right ability, Passionate Strike, I would most of the time save that for a hero, because sometimes it's just easier to finish off infantry with your basic saber attack because you'll take more damage using Passionate Strike, because your normal attack is just much faster and it will do the job. I would just save Passionate Strike against blocking saber heroes that want to pick a fight, or, you know, some tough reinforcement that wants to get up close and personal, especially those commando droids. Just be aware of your positioning and movement, and that will honestly just come in time as you learn the maps and practice. You'll soon be able to tell what fights you're able to take and which ones aren't such a great idea. For example, if you see several enemies grouped up by the objective, all you gotta do is just pull and heroic might, and most of the people will be gone, if not all of them. Just overall be a super fast, damaging, powerful, moving machine, but still be aware of your positioning. Also, don't be afraid to use his abilities defensively, because that may just help you, especially if you need any damage reduction. Like, there's been times where I was going to die, but I used heroic might for the damage reduction, killed everyone in the area, got some health back because of the health on kill, and then got out of the area to get my health regen, and then got back in the fight once my abilities recharged, and then I just use them more offensively. Now, if you want to know some good maps that you can do decent with Anakin, and I'm not saying you can't do good with him on any of the other maps, because you definitely can. You can honestly do great with him no matter the map, as long as he's in the right hands. But if you are wanting to practice with him, maps like Naboo, Tatooine, Death Star, Camino, and even Starkiller Base are great for him. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this hero guide. If you did enjoy it, please consider liking the video if you liked it, or dislike it if you disliked it. But if any of you guys have any questions, comments, or constructive criticism for me, please put them all in the comments down below, because I do read and respond to them. Seriously, some people don't ask me questions because they don't think I'm going to answer them, or they don't want to bother me. I mean, come on. What's the worst that can happen? Me not answer? Come on, guys. Remember, I'm here to help you guys out. Also, remember that there's always room for improvement that can be made. So be sure to let me know what I can do better for all those future hero guides, because, I mean, I finished all of the Saber ones, but we still got a lot of Blaster heroes coming up, and even Palpatine. So if you are interested in those future hero guides, Battlefront 2 in general, just everything Star Wars, or just want to help me out, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing while hitting the notification bell down below, so you never miss a video. And if you guys have any other tips for Anakin Skywalker that you can give, be sure to do so in the comments down below, because there's tons of different tips and different strategies out there, so others may learn from the comment section as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, steal your joy or the high ground. Seriously, you don't want Anakin to not have the high ground. Anyways, guys, may the Force be with you always.